We are recording. Microphones are hot.
Good morning, all. Welcome to the June 6, 2018 DLMD board meeting. As indicated, the mics are hot and the recording's on, so everybody smile and be polite. Thank you. Okay, we have in front of us an agenda here, and I have already called the meeting to order. I've looked at the head count. We have a quorum, so we're good to go there. We have some motions to take a look at. First being the approval of the minutes of the regular scheduled board meeting of May 16th, which are in front of you. If you have any questions or amendments or changes, if not, the chair would entertain a motion to approve. We have a motion. We have a second. Second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Great. We also need a motion to approve the financial statements. Steve, anything you want to add?
That's pretty straightforward. Our current balance is $409,750. Just the usual charges that we have here for May. The TMPA is this Thomas P. Miller, which was an impact study that we did. This was a contribution towards that, and we have the rebranding as well. So that's kind of where we stand.
Any questions on the financials? Chair would entertain a motion to approve. We have a motion. We have a second. We have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Okay, great. We'll now go into public forum. Any presentations from anybody would like to talk about? You have a 3-minute time limit. Time's been called. Good. I was there last week and I didn't realize the 3-minute, and so Mayor Kay reminded me 3 or 4 times I'd gone over my 3-minute limit. So kind enough to extend it. So thank you. Okay, let's jump into our president's report. Terry, the floor is yours.
Thank you. You have a rather hefty board packet today that hopefully you got a chance to look at, and we're going to go over some things in the board packet, but I'm excited to report that while the board packet is large, the presentation is short. So compared to some of the meetings that we've had, it's going to be much briefer. So I'm going to start off kind of going over the 3-year plan. If you recall that you had a draft sent to you probably a couple weeks ago, and then we spent the last week and a half kind of in small groups kind of going over it so that people had a real deep understanding of the plan. I'm going to do kind of a high-level presentation just as a review. But as I mentioned, this presentation is pretty short, and then we can answer questions or whatever. So if you remember, the process started when we conducted a joint board retreat of 2 organizations, the Downtown Lexington Management District and the Downtown Lexington Partnership. Those goals that we established for the board retreat were to develop an understanding of the downtown and our customer. We did that through the research. We also wanted to define this new partnership that hopefully the 2 organizations would go into, and then how that structure would work. And then set our priorities and our core services. And I always say set a challenging but attainable agenda. And then make sure that our stakeholders and our decision makers and our funders have a good understanding of what we do and why. So those were the goals that we were trying to go into the board retreat with and hopefully come out with the ultimate goal of developing a 3-year strategic plan. And so that morning, a lot of folks participated, and a lot of good work was done. And then in the evening, we co-hosted a public open house on March 21st. And so we invited the public to come see what we had done, to weigh in and rank our priorities, and also add in their comments. And then DLP continued that engagement process past March 21st with 2 different things. On April 16th, we hosted an open house in District 1 and 2. And then April 24th, is that previous? Yeah. Sorry, this one slide. Then on April 24th, we hosted an all-day public open house and engagement at the Distillery District. And so all told, through that process, more than 375 people were able to see what we were proposing, provide input, and help us rank what we were intending to do. And those folks included these two boards, downtown property owners, downtown business operators, city council members, city staff, collaborating organizations, and the general public. So a broad range of folks have had to see, touch, and feel this, and hopefully feel that they had some input into what we're proposing to improve the downtown. So if in your packet we actually have the plan, and I'm just going to go over some highlights. I'm going to use my working copy because as we went through the meetings to try to sit down with each one of you to make sure you had a good understanding, we incorporated any feedback that you had. So I took lots of notes. The packet you have in front of you reflects that. So the way the plan is created is outlined here. And the first part is what we had to do with taking this raw data coming from the public engagement was we had to really begin to put it into a digestible plan. I know it seems a little long, but a digestible plan that also began to become more of a joint plan where when we initially started the process, DLMD was more of a sponsor and partner. We've now made it so that it's kind of a shared plan, that this is what we're doing together. So this is the outline. So when we talk about the organizations, we articulate in the plan who the boards are and staff, what the partnership looks like, the mission area of the two different organizations, and then as we started to talk about with this plan that we have a overlapping geography, common mission, shared vision, and so that's articulated in the first part of the plan. Then, if you recall, the first thing that we did in our board retreat and was presented at each of the open houses is we did research. We did research to understand our downtown stakeholder, what they thought of what we were doing and how well we were doing it, and what they thought we needed to be doing. We also surveyed the 7-county metro resident and asked them the same thing. So we know what our customers want. Then we also, I think, needed to establish the fact that downtown is an important part of being an economic generator and anchor for the region. And so we documented that. So what's good is before we started making any decisions, we had a good understanding of what downtown is, why it's important, and who our customer is. So then that's the first part, research. Then we had the engagement process we just talked about. In that process, both the boards and the public were able to provide organizational assessment, what they thought of our organizations, as well as the downtown, what we do well, what our challenges are, and so forth. So that's incorporated into the plan, and that's kind of the raw feedback. So we didn't make a lot of editing for that. So if you see something that's like, hey, I'm not sure I agree with that, that's not something that we've agreed to, but that's what came about from the engagement process. But then when we get to the plan, this is what we are saying, this is what we're doing. Okay? So all that is kind of preamble to a degree. So this is the outline of the plan, and I'm going to go over a couple of high-level things, and then open up for discussion, and then keep moving down the agenda. So we thought it was important to have some high-level guiding principles that should emanate throughout all of our focus areas and priorities and so forth. So I kind of shorten these here in this presentation, but be a collaborative, inclusive, focused, results-oriented organizations. Make downtown an urban laboratory that is really about engaging universities and students and entrepreneurs. Foster an inviting, connected, multimodal downtown. We got to help downtown grow into itself, right? If that mission area is our mission area, we got to really figure out how we grow into that. Celebrate and promote Lexington's sense of community. This is where we celebrate all things Lexington. Strengthen the emerging districts. Again, how do we create that connectedness within our districts? And when I say districts, that's not the management district, but what we mean by that is, let's say the Short Street area, the North Limestone area, the east part of downtown, and so forth. So those are emerging districts that all have a unique experience that we want to lift up and connect better. And then the last thing is, again, always looking at how do we create an inclusive downtown and broaden the experience. So those are our guiding principles, that everything we do should kind of be with a lens to that. So the plan is divided into focus areas, priorities, goals, and then action items. We're just going to go over the broad things. So the first part, development and environment. That is really what we call building and managing the product. So the physical environment. And for the management district, that's a core part of what you do. Then there's experience and activation. How do we attract customers and resources so that we can be successful? And last is organizational management, building that capacity. And what's really important, that is also increasing our relevance and communicating what we do effectively. And underneath that, very importantly, is the renewal of the district. What we're going to do now is just go through these broad areas. And if you remember, there's a 3-year budget projection. And we're going to show just what the first-year budget projection mix looks like. But I thought it was really important in one of our meetings what Steve Kay had brought up, and we had a good discussion on it, is what does this budget projection mean? And so we put in some new wording. I want to make sure that you're drawn to that before we go through this. So on the budget page, this budget projection isn't committing the organization to doing anything. It's giving people a sense of what we are proposing to do. And so we added wording to the top of that page. I think it's the last page before the 11 by the legal size paper. Oh, no, it's not. It looks like this. Has lots of pretty colors on it. So while you're finding that, the following table summarizes projected revenue and expense budget allocations. Each year, a complete 1-year budget and economic development / work plan will be developed and approved by the DLMD board. So this is just putting a projection out there, but the detail is in each 1-year budget and each 1-year work plan that will be developed and approved. So in fact, one of our agenda items after this presentation is to talk about how we get a budget together to get approved by council. So there's a process here. I just want to make sure as we go through this and you see some pie charts and stuff, you're not thinking that, oh, wait, is this our budget now? This is not. Okay. So with the budget projections, though, under development and improvement, the two overriding priorities are planning and development and operations and placemaking. So that's building the product and making sure we manage it effectively so it's a great environment to do business in. And so this is where likely the bulk of DLMD's resources will be allocated as we move forward in this 3-year strategic plan. And so that shows you kind of a for instance. But what's great about this in a partnership is we're working together and we're leveraging each other's resources. So you're not at the table alone. You're getting some of our resources to do effectively what needs to be done in building the product and managing the product. We have here experience and activation. This is really within the DLP sweet spot. So we do a lot more of marketing and events and promotions. So you'll see this is a little bit skewed, but we did want to make sure there were some allocations that we think about. And we can dive into the detail with when we develop the 1-year budget. But we want to make sure that you're able to do some sponsoring or getting your name out there attached to things that are making downtown better. And so we have some things. And you see that over a 3-year period that grows. And again, when we get down into the dirty details of the 1-year budget that has to be approved, we can flesh that out further and make adjustments if you say, hey, we want to allocate more in this area. And then finally is organizational capacity, relevance, and then how do we make sure that we're benchmarking, showing the impact we make and the health of downtown. And largely that's what we do. We gather the data, we communicate it, and we put it out there. And then building capacity, that is, when DLP has a staff currently of 7, so this is where those resources are and where you'll see that we have 82% of the budget allocation with this projection. So that's it in a nutshell. Again, the detail will be in each one-year plan and each one-year budget that we do as a organization, the DLMD, and that'll be approved. We'll talk about that, I guess, in the next agenda items. Any questions? Okay, so I'm gonna. The next miscellaneous updates are just we want to confirm a July meeting date.
Yeah, I had in my notes from our last meeting, July 11th. Is that what you all remember? Is the because it's the other date falls on the 5th. I think we decided that was not a good date to do it after the 4th. So, is that agreeable to everybody? July 11th, which is the. Well, that's a good question. Only reason I thought about that, Kevin, because Terry and I talked about that this morning. I mean, I think with my concerns, is there something we need to do housekeeping? I mean, we're going to be in front of the council hopefully before then.
Yeah. Well, hopefully what will happen is, and this is the next budget line item, is we have to get scheduled to get council approval of the one-year budget. At the July meeting, hopefully what we would do is there's the RFP, hopefully that you'll have proposals and make a decision on an RFP and approve the line-by-line budget and the work plan for this coming year. And that'll then keep us moving on track starting July 1. So I think it's
assuming that we would address the proposed one-year budget here, then take it to council and let them look at it and approve it. That we had done it before, Kevin?
That's
was
what
that
the statutory requirement?
Yeah, and so I mean we probably need to try. Can that be done today, or does that have to be done next month?
Or we have a follow-up meeting.
Well, because and Nick's right though. The other issue, we got to have the RFP. The RFP timetables come out that we'll need to, I guess, make a decision and have that ratified at the July. I guess we will need a July meeting as well. I know what you're saying. I'd like to skip one if we could because I'm worried about schedules and a quorum. But given the timetables and the way the year breaks, we probably need to have this July 11th.
I'm in DC on the 11th.
Yeah, who all can come on July the 11th? Do we have enough here? I can. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Lars, you think Whitaker's going to be around?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I could call in if that can
I was about to
happen.
call.
Yeah, we can do a call-in thing to get our quorum numbers. Yeah.
But back on the budget, we got 2 council members here. They can obviously give their opinions, but I would think they would want an approved budget by this board before. I see the vice mayor shaking his head.
Yeah.
Do you want, and
We
to
can
meet
do
that
that.
timeline, do you want to have another meeting in June to keep on the timeline to be on the council? Otherwise, you guys go on break, and is that going to push it back to an August type of process? Which is okay, but if we want to keep on.
Is there not enough information we can look at the budget today?
I
For 1 year?
Okay.
Okay.
That's why I called these budget projections, just to give a sense. I'd feel more comfortable if you had programmatic detail, so you know what we're allocating, as opposed to just, these are just, again, broad focus areas. You saw how large dollars those are. I would want those better defined before we ask the board to approve that.
Steve, all these organizations have different budget years. When is the budget year for this? When is the first day of the budget year?
For us?
For the management district?
It's July,
Yeah.
July
I think
1.
that's what I read.
Yeah.
Yeah, we made it coincide with your all's year.
So, yeah.
Can the board today authorize the general budget of this is what we're thinking the overall numbers are, and then authorize the executive team to basically approve the line-by-line budget in order to meet the deadline, and basically and then give the budget to Irving County Council?
Are you going to stipulate in council that it was the executive committee budget, not the full committee budget?
If the board authorizes the executive committee to act on behalf of the entire board, I think it is the entire board's. I wouldn't know.
I think it might be better if the executive committee could get together and with Terry and develop a draft and let us look at it. I'm not comfortable being in the position of authorizing a
Sure.
a budget that I haven't seen as a part of this board, never mind.
You'll do that every day, don't you?
I know.
Is there a way you can take we do that, send it out, and you could take, still you're authorizing the executive committee, but that people could weigh in via email. It's not as official, but it keeps us on track of these many people affirmed via email that they want the budget to move forward in the process.
Doesn't that account, I mean, doesn't that essentially make it voting by electronic means, which would violate open meeting law?
Okay.
All right, looks like we're having a July meeting.
Well, we have a July meeting. The question is, so we meet July the 11th, then we have to get the budget approved by this board, and you got to then get to, is there enough time to get to the council then, Steve? There's not.
Council goes on break the 10th.
Yeah, so
Do we a special call?
End of
Meeting
June.
on the
I guess
8th.
we'll have to.
We're gone by the 10th. Yeah.
We could meet in the next week or so. It's, we could get this put together in a couple days and have a single agenda item review the budget. It'd probably go half hour, 45 minutes. So if you, I know it's getting back together, but it would keep us on track.
How about in lieu of the 11th, meet the Wednesday before the 5th?
The Wednesday before the 5th?
Last week of June.
Last week of June.
Well, you check in with Steve, council schedule, because you still got to get them time to get it approved before we do. So I think it's more of in the next week or so. Because I think you bring up, perfect point is let's make sure we do it right and give the council time to.
Council rules are, presentations have to be in, it's about a week, it's actually a little more than a week before the actual presentation.
And I just remembered, I think I'm scheduled June 12th just to give a presentation about the 3-year plan. We could, can we use part of that time slot to actually put together the 1-year budget for DLMD?
Well, presentations, as was noted earlier, presentations are 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna, I mean, we're nearly 30 minutes into this meeting on the 3-year plan right now.
Offering suggestions, anyone?
Last
Anyone?
meeting of the council in June is the 21st. And then our last meeting before the break will be the 5th of July.
So if we work off the 21st date, back up week 10 days, because you got to have it there before that much time. So is that correct?
Yeah.
How many days is it?
I think for the packet itself, 3 days, but if it's a presentation with any slides or anything, then we want it a week.
Week, okay.
They send the packets out on Thursdays and
Next Wednesday, approve budgets
before the
14th.
Yeah.
Gets us on the 21st.
Okay, I think that looks like then we meet next Wednesday, which is the 14th, at a specially called, 13th specially called meeting. And then we'll do, and all we're going to do is deal with the budget. And then if we get that approved, we'll have it shipped it over then to the council in time for the 21st for you to go over there and present the 1-year budget. Is that,
Yep.
does that work, Steve, on
That'll
time
work.
frames? Okay.
June 13th, 8:30.
June 13th at 8:30, and we'll have the one issue, which is just the 1-year budget. Are we all clear? And many of you should come, please come, and then you can, we'll have a call-in number, and I'll let Lawrence, let Woodford know. We'll try to let everybody at least have a quorum.
What are the dates?
So Kevin has already mentioned
13.
this. According to the council rules, you cannot have a vote. But people have to be physically present. They cannot call in.
Yeah, I think before I remember, because we have them on the phone, they can comment, but they can't vote, right? So we got back and count them as quorum, right? That was my understanding.
Not sure you can count them toward quorum. I can ask Janet, but I'm not sure.
Because I think
the
that's, we
answer
wsee
is
through
no.
that early on. We were having trouble getting enough people here. Because
I
we're,
think the rule is to count toward the quorum, to vote, you have to be able to
see them. So the calling in is nothing more than just informational purposes only. And I think we're down to 13 possibly members currently. we need to look at that. You and I need to talk about that afterwards. But so if that's true, then I'm going to need 7 people.
7
people live in presence. So
I can be here.
yeah, okay. And Steve and I'll be here. So that, I think we'll have 7. Okay, we'll be good. So 13th, 8:30 here. Everybody got that in their calendar?
Great.
Okay.
Send a calendar update.
Yes.
All right, go ahead. English.
We'll do that today.
Go ahead. All right, go ahead, Terry. What else you got?
So, let's see. On other updates, I'll just make mention the Tapestry by Hilton Hotel, which is locally called Sire, former Grants Park Inn, is opening on Thursday. And they're happy to report that their first weekend is sold out. And so they're coming online pretty strong. And if you haven't been there, they've done a great job with renovating it. And it still has the locally owned distilled. And so that's exciting. And I think that's the only update I have. I had the other just in case something else came up. So I think we can go to just miscellaneous updates. David?
Not a whole lot for me. I just wanted to say the list of cleanup details you gave, I've already started on those, the pressure washing, and as you see, spraying the weeds and everything. I'm happy to report that in the alcoves over by Starbucks and Sawyer's, they've taken those benches out. So I'm gonna have to pressure wash over there again. Stagger Inn is still the same problem. And the birds are back over by Trust. But it's not as bad now. I might have to do it maybe. I probably just have to do it once a week as opposed to how often I had to do it at first. So it's not that bad. And I've been getting a lot of good feedback about the safety ambassadors on the bikes. Everybody pretty much likes it. And I've been hearing from some of the property owners that they haven't been seeing the usual faces out there as far as the panhandling and everything. So far that's been good. I don't know if the weather or the rain kept them away, but so far that's good. If anyone notices the Courthouse Plaza and Phoenix Parks, they're beginning to get a little more crowded as the weather gets warmer. But there's always a police presence out there, so they're pretty much cool. They're not bothering anybody. They're just hanging out now. I guess that's something that's, you can't do anything about that. And it was one other thing that I was hoping somebody might have a solution about as far as the benches. Is there any way to get dividers put on the benches to keep people from lying across them? That's what's something that I'm trying to find out who to contact for that, because I've seen that a lot where they just laying out on the benches. I figured if dividers were on there, it would make it a lot less comfortable for them. And it was, what else was it? I believe that was all for me. Yeah, that's it for me. Any questions?
Just so everybody knows, the full monthly statistics are the last page before the 8.5 by 14, if you haven't seen those.
Any other questions for Dave?
Well, I did want to mention in Terry's surveys, as far as people agree and don't agree, downtown perception survey, downtown cleanliness is 81%, y'all.
Yay! It's all you, David.
Got to step it up, though. I got to get the other 19%.
All right.
Yeah, so it should be back up to.
Okay, let's go back up to number 7 if we could. I think we skipped over 7, 8, and 9. Terry's proposed a resolution of adopting the 3-year strategic plan he just approved. How do you all feel about doing that? It's adopting and approving the strategic plan. It's not the budget. It's just a strategic plan for the next 3 years. Do you all feel comfortable in adopting that as a resolution? If so, the chair will entertain a motion.
Before we do,
Yes, sir.
Or you want to take a motion and discussion either
Yeah, we
way?
can do that. Let's do that. Yeah, we have a motion. Might fail from lack of a motion. I have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second. Okay, let's have some discussion. Vice Mayor.
So I raised these questions with Terry when we met, but I have concerns that some of what the 3-year plan lays out really look like financial commitments. And it makes me a little uneasy. And we've not seen a 1-year budget. I don't know what that translates into. There's a lot in the plan. I mean, I understand. I mean, there's been a lot of input, but the plan itself is fairly complex. I don't think we've had a full chance to look at the details of it, so I'm not comfortable kind of approving that at this point, and I don't know that it's crucial that we do. So that's kind of my take on it.
Anybody else?
I think it's appropriate, I think, to table it until our next meeting, when we have a budget number, at least our next meeting, when we have a budget number to go along with.
All right. Okay, we'll draw the motion. We have a motion to table it. We have a second for that. Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, so the motion is tabled to our meeting on the 13th. The next is the RFP. In your packet, you will see a proposed RFP proposal that we're going to send out. We anticipate sending out June 13th. And what this is for the district to implement a vendor to effectuate the programs that we've set forth, the ideas that we want to continue on, the work that David and his group are doing. And it was mentioned, and it's appropriate that we submit these services out for bid. The DLP is not a sole source provider for us, and so technically we should put that out there for it and entertain any and all offers. So we'll be issuing that RFP on or before the 13th with the due date of June 27th at 12 noon. It'll come to me. I'll convene the executive committee together, executive board. We'll review those RFP responses and make a recommendation to you at the 13th meeting. Will I have it by then? No, I will not. It would be July meeting, July the 11th meeting. We'll make a recommendation as to who our vendors should be. It's a 2-year term we're proposing, if you can see that in your packet, with potential renewals. Any questions about the RFP or why we're doing it? Okay, that's just information only, so we'll be pushing that out. I guess we do need a motion, though, to approve issuing that RFP, I suppose. At least you got it on here that way. I don't know. Have a motion. Have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Great. And informational purposes only, we're losing 2 board members. Tanya Phillips is moving out of the district, and Andrew Carter, as you remember from last meeting, has been transferred to Louisville. We are actively seeking replacements. We have secured one such volunteer, and we're very grateful, and his name is being sent over as we speak across the street. The application process is complete online, and we thank you, Thomas Pettit, for your service to be. And we're looking for a representative in the hospitality entertainment industry. I have calls into the gentleman at Hilton. I've had no luck in getting responses, and I'll continue that hunt. That board seat, if you will, is limited to that designation, so we only have a finite number to choose from within that geographical boundary. So it's the Hilton, 21C. The web thing has not come online yet, and we have the new Gratz Park. What's it called again?
Sire.
I keep calling it Siri. Sire. So we'll vet that out and have some report for you next meeting. So if y'all have contacts at either one of those 2 places, let me know. I do not. I'm just calling cold. Yes, ma'am?
I think I have.
That would be helpful. Okay, great. Thank you.
Jim, I would just add, I checked with Melissa yesterday, so if the desire is to get these done before the council goes on break, so you've got somebody in place later in July and August, then we would need all the paperwork from whoever by the 13th.
Okay.
Actually, I think it's the 15th.
Okay. 15th of June, this month, right? Okay. Okay. I will jump on the other one. I'll talk to you afterwards. We'll see if we get the other designated. So I think the ordinance calls for up to 15, but I don't think that we're required to fill all the seats, are we? Yeah, so, okay, up to. So we have roughly, if we get these 2 replaced, we'll be at, I think, 13. So just FYI. Okay, anything else? I think we got some other items down here. Terry, do you want to talk about, where are we? Is it bike share or branding?
Branding.
Branding.
So, quick that we're working through that process, and we're ready soon to have a kickoff where, similar to what we did with the 3-year plan, we want to invite the public in to understand what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish, and engage them in part of this brand development process. That will happen June 20th. We think it'll be from 5 to 7, and we think it's going to be Main on Main. Is that right? So look for details coming out on that. We will then follow that up with some focus groups that will be done over the next week or so after that. And then we'll begin to develop the brand concepts with the ultimate goal of a downtown brand and a new website that is managed by DLP at the downtownlex.com, social media marketing tools, and a strategic marketing plan for downtown. Bike share. So dockless bike share is coming. It's been the council about 30 days ago told city folks who are managing this to move forward with a MOU with Spin. So they've been doing some things to get that to come online. They've also been working, Spin has been working with UK. UK's dockless bike share will launch in on June 18th. The city's is going to be sometime thereafter. And the initial phase will probably include 500 bikes. Approximately 200 will be at a starting point on the UK's campus, and then the remaining will be sprinkled largely through downtown, but throughout the community, and they'll phase up according to data and usage. But we continue to try to engage the city to understand where they're intending to locate the parking areas that are encouraged by the apps of Spin, so that we know the impact on businesses and right-of-way and so forth. So we're trying to work with Scott Thompson and scouting those out before these arrive, and then being able to communicate with our stakeholders that this is coming, and here's where you likely might see, and then who they might call if they see issues. So just watch that be coming down the pipe.
Sure, property improvement grants. So we, as I mentioned in our last meeting, we had our first applicants come in. Both of those were in the courthouse overlay district, and the city planning department is kindly working with us to schedule a meeting and have their projects reviewed rather than having to wait. It's typically a quarterly meeting because there's so few applications. However, they're not going to make them wait till August, so they're working with us very closely to get those done now. We have about a dozen people that we've reached out to, or that have reached out to us, interested in the program. And then coming soon, in the next week or so, we're releasing a press release, more formally announcing it and starting to market it a little more heavily. And so you'll see a lot of activity after that really hits the streets and people start to learn about the program. Kind of the soft rollout's given us a chance to refine the process and make sure that it's working the most effectively. We'll note that $15,000 is put in from DLP and $15,000 from the management district. However, we are carefully documenting the projects that are outside of the management district area. None of that money can be spent on of the $15,000 from the management district. And so that accounting is being taken into consideration so that we're following all of our responsibilities and rules.
Questions?
And please feel free to refer the program to business partners and people that you may know that might be interested in making some improvements to their property.
All right, special events.
Somewhere in your packet, you have the event schedule. It's separate, so it's not clipped in there. We start with the remainder of Central Bank Thursday Night Live. I know you folks have seen this before. Under that, we have the Fifth Third Bank presents the Lexington 4th of July Festival. and that is going to be Tuesday, July 3rd, and Wednesday, July 4th. You'll see all of the different kind of odds and ends detail-wise that we have on there. We still don't have a full street closure. I'm still waiting on some of the street closures from the 10K, so I can send that out. It will be closer to the date, but for the most part, especially on July 4th, just consider downtown north of Short, north of Vine Street, closed to vehicular traffic from about 5 a.m. when the 10K starts, more or less through the fireworks at 10. So if you have any questions, the information's on our website. Applications for things like the parade are on our website. Did you get yours, Isaiah? Perfect. So we're looking forward to a really lively parade. We're really excited about that. Beneath the hard line there, we've got a few events that happen downtown that are not DLP produced. The Barbecue Festival is this weekend at Courthouse Plaza. That's a Smarley Pete event. The Friday Latino Live, kind of like a Friday night or a Thursday Night Live, but on a Friday. That's produced by the, I'm not going to be able to come up with that acronym, but it's FLACA, Friends of Latinos and something else, I'm not sure. But they do a Friday Night Live concert at the Pavilion, no street closures, and then the Pride Festival at Courthouse Plaza, which is always a whole lot of fun. And they do not do a parade. A lot of people mistake that they do, but they don't do a parade. It's all contained to the Courthouse Plaza for that day, for that single day, just that Saturday. Something that's not on here that's pretty cool, DLP entered into an agreement with the Triangle Foundation to start programming, mindful programming in Triangle Park to bring people down during the day and on the weekends and that kind of thing. And our biggest task to date has been to find a tenant for the Triangle Park Cafe and kind of get that back into shape. And Kyle, who unfortunately is not here today, has put a lot of time and effort into getting it cleaned, getting a tenant, working through that process, getting settled in. Anything you can think of, it needed a little love. So we're going to announce that tenant pretty soon. They have an open date of, I think, July 1. It's someone that, when you hear the name, it'll make sense. They're a great partner to downtown already. On Tuesday, the 12th, that's next Tuesday, we've been tipped off that the Top Chef team should be filming in the Lexington Center that day. And Visit Lex has asked us to do some programming in Triangle Park, hopefully so that they can get some B-roll. So we're going to bring out our games, cornhole, life-size chess, do some programming. We don't know the time, so it's going to be, we're thinking mid-morning to mid-afternoon. What I think is probably going to happen is, we'll get a 10-minute window. We're going to start sending emails. So if you see an email that says you want to be on TV, run down there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have a fun day, but that's where we are in event world. So thanks.
Great. Any questions?
I think for those of you that don't live downtown, it behooves you to at least drive around Triangle Park and see the improvements. It looks great.
It's going to get better.
Well,
we're really excited.
Really improved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Gary's at a parking conference, so I don't think we have anything to talk about parking, so we'll just move on. Anything else anybody have? Not bad. All right, we'll move for adjournment. We're out of here. Thank you all very much. That's right.